and welcome to Korean Army Stew for Spicy People. Here we have our green onions and the lovely store of H Mart. 2 for $10. It wasn't too bad. You also pick your mushrooms. It's a very important part. This store, by the way, is our local H Mart. It is a lovely, lovely Korean grocery store. Enoki, the king of mushrooms. We always appear to have trouble determining what all goes into this stew, and there's so many things. It is one of those things that you can really throw whatever you'd like into it. It was developed during, well, not during, but after the Korean War. And there was a shortage of food, so a mixture of Korean and American foods were combined in that lovely, lovely thing known as stew. Some stew is more dangerous than others. Also, we gotta give the fiancé a treat for agreeing to this silly, silly video. Give us all the chocolate, please. Such a big store. And a little difficult to find ingredients at times, but oh, it's so much fun. As you might have noticed, this is my narration for the video, and we'll be following this format all the way through it. Hopefully, you enjoy it. It is a step-by-step guide to creating Korean Army stew. And a bunch of snacks, because can't go in there without snacks. Now, here we have our lovely pan. Don't look at that side. That side's better. With beef stock, non-diluted, so no adding water to this. There's no need for it. Now I'm cooking this for a lot of people, so measure your ingredients accordingly. That said, there are no official measurements for this that I have found. So we've seen our Enoki mushrooms and our bean sprouts. You never have too many bean sprouts. Our lovely green onion. And pre-sliced oysters. No need to slice those. They come that way. Isn't science fun? This is Korean red chili paste, Gochujang. And then we have our spice flakes and granulated garlic. And last but not least, the lovely kimchi. And that will do for our vegetables. Now for some of the meat. These are cheese-filled Korean hot dogs, and they are lovely and my go-to for any Korean Army stew dish. Spam, a classic. And this is Bulgogi, and if you are a Bulgogi prude, you may not like what I'm about to do to that. And there we have our danger noodles. Respect the authentic noodle. Don't go for those fake noodles. Noodles. And last but not least, highly processed American cheese. The more processed, the better. Now we have our bowl and our granulated garlic. We'll start that off by putting a little dab in there. Maybe a little more. Just a bit though. Here we have our red chili paste again, gochujang. I may be butchering that translation, please forgive me. It's a bit sticky, and oxidized. As you can see, I've had it in the fridge for a while. This wasn't brand new. That said, oxidized red chili paste is still red chili paste and will do everything you need it to. I am addicted to the flavor of this stuff. I really, really am. Last little bit there. Can't forget it. Get off. Get. Thank you. Oops, forgot something. Aha. This is Nice Tasty Red Pepper Flakes. The nice tasty part of that translation, very important. And again, there is no proper measurements for this dish that I've found. So you give it a good mixin'. It will be difficult, but worth it, I promise you. And it will all make sense very, very soon. Good to go. Now we come back with our broth, and we're just going to dump that in there. Too slow. Let's see if I can find a life hack for this. I found one. Do me a favor though, when you're trying this, don't stab your hands. Now, this is the same bottle. Keep in mind, we've got two. For this, that's about what you need to serve 4 people. The way I measure it out is 4 people per box of stock. So if you got 8 people, 2 boxes. Together we can see my... Oh. Let me get that out of the way. Now we're going to do a bunch of mixing. And this part takes a while. When it is all homogenized, we can be done. And you'll note as we're stirring, it's getting thicker and thicker as that gochujang breaks up inside. When you're done, it should look a little like this. Now, if your stove also looks like this, then congratulations, you are also not living in a professional kitchen studio. Now, here we realize the bowl we picked out for this little task is a bit small. Probably shouldn't try that. Quick transfer. You'll notice a lot of sludge coming out of that. You'll want to mix that up again as you're adding the next bottle of beef stock. Knife hack, life hack. You get every last drop of that. And here we go. The drops are back. And starting to look pretty good. Last but not least, we add in a little bit of soy sauce. Okay, I say little, but past Sean does like his soy sauce. Give that a little bit of a mixeroo. A little bit more. You'll also want to break up a little bit of the junk at the bottom at this point. I say junk. It's tasty, tasty chili paste. Hashtag Dirty Spoon Club. If you're doing it correctly, your spoon should look like that. I assure you. Now we get ready for the fun part. A lot of chopping. Now, I know what you're thinking. The sliced mushrooms being pre-sliced and all. Don't slice those. Unless you really, really want to. I find them to be a pleasing side. So, we're gonna stick that right in the pot. Now for the green onions, and please forgive my chopping skills. I am by no means a professional chef. Clean up our little board there, and then we shall continue. I've heard if you do these at an angle, it's supposed to be more fancy. And admittedly, it is fairly pleasing to give a little cutting to. Except for the parts that don't want to cut. What did I say? Obey me. Good enough. Not good enough. There's always one. Anyway, you're gonna take these and add them to your pot. Now, I have layered these, starting with the green onions. I will show you a little bit more what that looks like when I'm done. For now, I am just doing the cutting. And here we have our beloved Enoki Mushrooms, the king of all mushrooms. Now, admittedly, I don't know if you're supposed to cut the roots off of these ones, but I do just out of an abundance of caution, and maybe a little bit fear of the unknown. Perhaps I should find that out someday. Either way you split it, Enoki mushrooms are the friggin' best.
Once I wouldn't say it, would I? Once you wouldn't. No. Bye. It's time we do.
Yes, we're going to take these in clumps now, because once you do that initial cut, they tend to want to go everywhere. And it is important not to waste the enoki. What I'm going to do with these is layer them in the pot with the green onion and the mushrooms. A little bit more. Who am I kidding? All of this stuff's going to be used. See? Told you. You blinked and missed it, didn't ya? It's okay. Bean sprouts are a close second. Just remember, when you butcher a bag like this, have a Ziploc handy. You're not going to use all these bean sprouts. Not for this dish anyway, even for the amount of people I'm cooking. A couple handfuls, spread them along the pot. You'll see. My hands at this point are doing the lovely work. I'm really glad I am not standing in this hot kitchen. Well, this was a long video to make. However, hopefully you're learning something and it'll be worth it to you in the long run. A little bit more bean sprouts. Yeah. Now we clean our surface. Pretty quick, huh? Stuff on the knife. Forgot to clean the knife. Now for everybody's favorites. And I know what you're thinking. If you're not a fan of Spam, that is okay. A lot of people who don't like Spam tend to enjoy eating it in this dish particular, and I think that's maybe because the chili pepper flakes and all the other flavors really just kind of soak into the porous surface of the Spam and really locks in the flavor.
No.
Now, I tend to quarter these weird because I don't know how to cut things, so forgive me if this is upsetting to my knife people out there. Pieces aren't even at all, but that's okay. This dish was typically made for people who are suffering with hangovers these days. Where once it was a necessity to continue living, it is now something to do after a night of joyous drinking. You gotta appreciate how things advance. Now you can keep them squared like this, or depending on your size and how fond you are of your fingers, you can go ahead and chop them up again. I encourage this for larger amounts of people. However, if it's just you and a couple others for a much smaller dish, just go ahead and leave them as the flat little, what's the word? I want to say, well, like tombstone seems a bit grim, but Spam tombstone seems a little correct. So, when making this for your friends and family who are not numbering in the 8s of people, use the good old-fashioned Spam tombstone. These are more like Spam logs, I suppose. And there's only one thing that goes perfect with it. My beloved Korean hot dogs. Notice the color. Very different than what I'm used to. We don't really have stuff like this in Colorado, so moving to the West Coast has been very beneficial to my cooking education. I've picked up a lot. This is still one of my favorites. So we're going to half these and do some of them on the small surface space we have. No escaping. That is not allowed. Can you believe the gall of these things? Spam is notoriously difficult to work with. They have their eyes set on freedom or some misguided thing. You'll have to forgive them. Perhaps they're eager to join the pot. Now we're going to make room for our lovely pot. Get ready for it. Here it comes. Now, you see I've layered green onions, sliced king oyster mushrooms, bean sprouts, and enoki, all in layers, forming a small space in the center. That is going to be important space later on, so we're going to leave it just as it is. We'll throw some Spam around it. And then get confused as to what you really want the Spam to look like, because apparently this turned into an art exhibit halfway through the cooking. Well, it helps if you section these off. Normally I put Spam in one area, Bulgogi in the other, hot dogs in another, enoki and everything else. However, I have found with this particular layout, it tends to be a little easier to scoop out of the pot, given that everything is, if you start in the center and work your way out with a spoon, you'll get a bit of everything, which is ideal for eating this particular brand of stew. Now for the fun part. Now, you can get these without the cheese, but really, why would you want to? an important part of life. Also, you have no idea how hard it was not to eat one of these things, as so I was messing around. I also realized I didn't buy enough of them. So, we go in with the scatterplot-esque approach of handling our wiener. And now for the fun part. If you are a Bulgogi purist, I advise looking away. However, if you're hungover, please pay attention. This part is a lot of fun. What we have here is pre-seasoned Bulgogi steak Bulgogi from H Mart, picked up a little earlier. And what we're going to do with that, despite it being raw meat, is place it around the exterior of our little, well, I guess you could call it an island. Is it an island if there's a big hole in the middle? This is why I'm not in geography class. Try and keep it on the mushrooms though, not on the pan itself. If you'll note, I am putting it kind of along the interior wall of the vegetables under it. And yeah, Bulgogi tends to be a little squished when it's thrown in here, so try and keep this part clear while you're putting all the meat, break it up and stretch it around that little hole. That sounded a little naughty. We're not going to call it a hole anymore, we're going back to the island metaphor. Now pat your island and tell it it is a good boy. Last but not least, we have our kimchi. Now I've gone ahead and poured the sauce into this already. That is what had happened to our little island. Now this is more of, perhaps some horrible shipwreck, I suppose, with survivors in all areas. Add as much kimchi as you'd like to taste. I'm a big fan. And here we go. You're gonna bring that to a boil, as you can see here. It was so hard not to dive in, but we're not quite done yet. We've still one more thing to do. You remember the danger noodle. It is time. So you're going to open your package and start putting them around the exterior of your pan, working your way inside. Again, one noodle package per person is a good way to measure this out, but if you want really tasty leftovers, just go ahead and make it like I did here and you'll be good for a couple days, especially if you're on your own. Just don't eat it every day, break it up. For the love of all that is holy. There's so much sodium in this, please be careful. Unless you drink, and then in which case go nuts. Now we have secured our little ramen noodles, and we've given them patents to make them feel warm and accepted. Not that warmth should be an issue at this point. And I've started to add the cheese. And this is just best done in an overlapping coverage. Wherever you have noodle, you should have at least some part of the cheese. Can't forget the center of our knot island. And you'll note it's already starting to melt, and this is why we use the processed cheese. Without this, the dish just falls apart. And you're going to let that sit for about 8 minutes. So here we have our cheese melted, however our noodles are still dry. So what you're going to do is start pushing the noodles down. You should do this after 4 minutes of the 8-minute cook time. You can see it's starting to break apart, but it's not just yet ready. Recover that, let it simmer, good to go. And here we have our finished product. It's beautiful. Have you ever seen anything quite so appealing? Get your tools. For this, I advise ladle and noodle spoon. Is it a noodle spoon? I'm sure there's a word for it. It's a noodle spoon. And then stack your bowls to the side and inform people it's time to eat. And here we go. The tricky part is trying to tell people exactly where what is in the pot when they have no idea how I've cooked it. And we see here my fiance doing the best way. Dive right in, get a little bit of everything you can. You will not regret it. Don't forget your kimchi though, that's very important. Everything should be mixed up together. Once you get your noodles and your toppings, you'll want to use the ladle to get some of that delicious chili-esque sauce. I guess at this point it's soup. Get some of the soup with the ladle to drizzle over your noodles. To your taste, some people flood their noodles, some don't. I'd prefer a nice even mixture of noodle per soup ratio. Thank you so much for watching.